The details of 7 lectures, 7 webinars we had in the past, and now today is this 8th one. So I request now Dr. Naresh Kumarji, who was a PhD from TIFR, and he was a Dean and Director of Faculty of Science in Nirma University. We are very happy to have him with us, and I therefore request him to introduce our most eminent speaker of today.
Good evening, all of us. So this is a frontier topic we have been thinking in the new year, starting Sri Vimal Wakhlu, was former chairman and managing director of Telecommunications Consultants India Limited. It's a government enterprise, past president of the Telemedicine Society of India, and ex-board member of ISF TEH, International Society for Telemedicine and E-Health. His Bachelor's of Engineering was from National Institute of Technology, Srinagar, that is in 1977. And he did MBA Marketing from IGNOU, and he has about 43 years of experience in the field of telecom and information technology, involving e-networks and mobile services, etc. He's been successful in implementation of many government of India's projects. One of the thing is Pan-African e-network project. This is envisaged by Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, and which involves 48 nations in Africa to India, in all aspects of education and health sciences. He started his career from NHPC in 1977 in overseas communication services, and then which later became BSNL and now Tata Communications Limited. So he was also an officer in Indian Telecommunication Services. He held various positions in Department of Telecom from 1983 to 2000, and in BSNL from 2000 to 2006 as a director of satellite maintenance, Western Telecom region, and general manager of mobile services in Maharashtra and Northeast circles. He was involved in TCL 2006 to 2016 as executive director, and he served as director on boards of Tamil Telecommunications Limited, TBL International, TCIL Saudi Limited, Bharti Hexacom Limited, and he's also a certified project management professional in the Project Management Institute of Pennsylvania, United States. He is also a fellow of International Institute of Electronics and Telecom Engineers and many other organizations of IEEE member, and he has been visiting faculty in business of telecom management in Nazi Monji Institute of Management Studies and Advanced Mobile Communications Satellite Optical Fiber Communications in University of Mumbai, Pune University, and Advanced Level Telecom Training Center. Yeah. So he is also involved in delivering lectures on how technologies can be leveraged for entrepreneurship. So he has been participating in various activities related to education, health, disaster management, and financial execution. So currently he is a freelance consultant advising companies on technology transfer, capacity building, and project execution to some of the state governments, and project management director at Sustainable Smart Solution Private Limited. He is also in the expert and working groups on United for smart, sustainable city, an initiative of International Telecommunication Union, United Nations Economic Commission on Europe. He is also an expert in his focus group on artificial intelligence for environmental efficacy of International Telecommunication Union. So he has a vast experience, and 5G technology is going to be the frontier future. So we are going to listen to the impact of this 5G technology, what is going to offer for us, and how we can exploit for our country's needs. So we invite Vimal Wakhlu sir to take over.
Good evening. It's a great honor and pleasure to be here and exchange my thoughts with all of you. Today, I'll be speaking on this 5G networks enabling the emerging technologies for mitigating the challenges facing developing nations. Of course, I would like to thank D.K. Kothari Institute and Jan Academy of Scholars for having given me this opportunity of sharing my thoughts with you. Well, there are a lot of challenges which normally countries face. But before I go to that, I would like to mention that I was born in this beautiful city of Srinagar. You know, I used to be surprised when people from outside who used to come as tourists would say that, oh, it's really heaven on earth. I used to wonder, is it really heaven on earth? Actually, you know, as we proceed towards the presentation and towards the end, I think it'll be clear why I used to wonder whether it's heaven on the earth, you know, because of the various challenges we were facing there. So there has been, in the past 5 decades, there has been a lot of transformation in the domain of electronics. I had a subject called biomedical engineering in my final year in engineering, and cybernetics was one of my passions there. So at that time, I was given to understand that if we create a brain, which nowadays doesn't mean much, a brain, the function of a brain, which will involve the tubes, it'll be the size of the Empire State Building of America, which was the biggest building in the United States at one point of time. And at the same time, since we are using tubes, we'll need Niagara waterfalls to cool it down to keep it in place. Now, the thing is, we have gone a long way from tubes to transistors to ICs to microchips. The computing power has increased many folds, and there has been a total transformation in the memory power and micro miniaturization of the devices. Now, before we go towards the emerging technologies, I would like to first highlight some of the challenges that we as developing nation are facing, and many other countries, including in Africa, are facing. The biggest challenge is food. You know, we have seen that, you know, we have large population to feed, and we have been till recently even importing dals. So, I mean, this is a big challenge in many countries, that agriculture is in a mess. And in India also, farmers are committing suicide despite a lot of initiatives by the governments. And the domain of health, there are about 1.37 billion people, and 70% of our population lives in villages. And there are 6.5 lakh villages. But at the same time, we have only 2.5 lakh doctors. So most of the health related facilities, they remain on paper. there is a lot of challenge people are faced with, and even capacity building of the health workers becomes a problem. Environment. We know how much pollution is, happens in
आज
even places like Delhi, in the northern.
आवाज कम आ रही है
Uh, सर ये शायद कुछ इंटरफेरेंस है,
आवाज
आवाज कम आ रही है मेरी?
नहीं, अच्छी आ रही है हमारे को तो।
अच्छी आ रही है आपकी, अच्छी आ रही है।
वो आपके वहाँ एडजस्ट करिए, जिसको प्रॉब्लम हो रहा है वो वॉल्यूम बढ़ाइए जरा।
मैं एक
आपकी ठीक आ
रिक्वेस्ट
रही है।
करना चाह रहा हूँ
हाँ साहब।
कि बाकी पार्टिसिपेंट्स को म्यूट कर दें तो ज्यादा सही रहेगा। डिस्टरबेंस आता रहता है, बोलते रहते हैं, उनको पता ही नहीं कि उन्होंने म्यूट है अनम्यूटेड हैं। जब
हाँ
उनको बोलना है
हाँ, आप जरा अनम्यूट करिए विमल जी।
जी धन्यवाद।
ओके साहब।
So when it comes to environment, even here in the national capital region, we face a big challenge. I mean, it's a big problem when it comes to air, water. Everywhere we are faced with challenges. And this is not true of only India. Even other countries, they have a huge problem of, particularly the developing nations. And a lot of hazardous things are dumped into, rivers, and the rivers get polluted. Education. Education is another domain where there is a big problem. As I mentioned, there are 6.5 lakh villages. Now, in these villages, the quality of the teachers is pathetic. I mean, it's the problem is that as students, they have learned, something, and of course, they'll teach the same thing to their students as well. So it'll be garbage in, garbage out. So, and in the case of higher education, there is another challenge. In some places like Delhi University, for example, the cutoff goes to 100%. I mean, does it mean that people who have got 99% are useless students? No. It's an intrinsic problem of us and managing our resources. Now, water, a big challenge our country is faced with, despite having such mighty rivers in the country. There is no equitable distribution of water, political interventions, corruptions. These sites which you are seeing here are not very uncommon in many places. And preservation of water bodies is a big challenge. I mean, as a young man, when I was in my 20s, Rajiv Gandhi, the then Prime Minister, announced that he's going to clean Ganga. I was so excited. Now, today I am in my late 60s now. Ganga is still being cleaned. This is a big problem because we have not been paying adequate attention to it. And there are so many other related issues. Energy sector. Of course, recently there has been an improvement in this sector, but still we have not reached a stage where there is power everywhere. And I would like to mention that when I said that I used to wonder when people used to say, Kashmir, it's a heaven on earth. I remember that our voltage used to be 90 volts during winter. So we had to get those, voltage bulbs. Or other alternative was to use candles half the time. So, and nothing for heating and temperature of minus 15 degree centigrade. So these are some of the issues which developing nations do face because of energy shortage. Disasters, big challenge. And then we keep blaming. There was a disaster in Calcutta, so blame was shifted to everyone else. I mean, other than who could have been responsible. There are terror attacks, earthquakes, tsunamis, collapse of buildings, flyovers. This is a big problem. And in Mumbai also, it keeps happening. After every rainy season, there is a collapse of many buildings. Financial inclusion is another issue. We see that there are no banks in the rural areas. Local money lenders and middlemen, they take poor people for a ride and they remain their slaves for generations. And there is a difference between the rural and urban life. So many people, because of this reason, shift to the towns, like it happens in Mumbai. From all over the places, people rush to Mumbai, and we have one of the biggest you can say, slums in Asia called Dharavi there. So this is another challenge because of the financial inclusion challenge. Security. We have seen how the terror attacks happen, how there are incursions across, recently we had Galwan Valley challenges. Governance is a big problem for everything, starting with the land records, ration cards, passports. There is no single window clearance and queues everywhere. Corruption, that's a big problem. Communication itself is a problem. Of course, we are talking about 5G today, but the problem is that, um, this communication at present, it's the backbone of everything else. And in many places, we have poor teledensity in the rural areas, poor backhaul connectivity, a lot of issues still, despite so much of advancement in the past 25 years. Corruption, of course, somehow in our country and many other countries, developing nations particularly, the chai pani business, even starting with driving license to even death certificates, that's a big shame. People have to pay money. And it has resulted in growth of middlemen. Of course, there is an interesting story of toll collection between Maharashtra and Gujarat. Both the places, collect 50-50 at their borders, common border, yet the difference in collection was about 500 crores a year. That's a big challenge. Now, to solve some of these problems, the United Nations has come up with these 17 Sustainable Development Goals, which are to be completed by 2030. Most of these goals are needed in most of the countries. And if these goals are actually implemented, Earth will really be a heaven. All the countries will be heaven to live on, but I'm not sure whether we'll be able to achieve all these targets by 2030. Now, biggest challenge of the century we have faced, we are still faced with that. It's the COVID-19 pandemic. Now it's other mutated version of Omicron. But the problem is that there has been a shortage of beds, ventilators, oxygen, critical medicines, and so on and so forth. But there has also been a positive side of it, that the government was finally, I as the president of the Telemedicine Society of India was pursuing with Niti Aayog for a long time, but finally they issued the guidelines in March last year when the pandemic started. And now we have got, fortunately, telemedicine facility for allopathy, Ayurvedic, homeopathy, and everything. Now, that was the challenges we are faced with. Now, coming to 5G networks. Now, what is special about 5G? We have seen up to 4G networks. 5G networks, of course, they have 10G and higher throughput. And the best part of it, which I am quite excited about, is a latency of less than 1 millisecond, which makes some applications possible. And low power base stations, multi input, multi output antennas, renewable energy being used there, distributed architecture, open RAN, indoor solutions also possible, and extensive fiber network instead of having big power transmitters. And the best part of it is fixed mobile convergence, so that there is no need to use your mobile phone if you are at home, for making calls. For other applications, yes, but for calls, you can avoid it also. So this was, and it will be a fully ubiquitous networks. Now, what are the special applications of this? One is, of course, the autonomous cars, which are under trial in most of the countries, developed countries, and it's going to come to India as well, because there are two components of it. One is the electrical part, which makes it light. The second is driverless, And the third part is no parking needed. It'll be a major change. And it can only be enabled by 5G networks because the latency is less than 1 millisecond. Otherwise, there'll be accidents because it has got radars which come into the picture. Similarly, robotic surgeries, which were not possible till now, are possible with the advent of these 5G networks, which is round the corner. And of course, we have to be careful even with the 5G networks because there could be some challenges because of breach or bugs. So coming to the 5G networks, otherwise, telecom infrastructure is one major area which will get a major boost. IT infrastructure, that will be another domain area. And the most important, the emerging technologies. The 5G network, by virtue of their special features, which we talked about, will help technologies in mitigating the challenges facing developing nations. So my focus today of the talk would be primarily on these emerging technologies and how they'll solve the problems. Now, coming to first is the artificial intelligence, Internet of Things. We have blockchain, we have e-network platforms, we have extended reality, we have big data analytics, we have drones, we have smart energy in a big way, and also 3D printing. We also have quantum computing, which is transforming going to transform the world in a big way in the near future. Industry 4.0 and of course 5G networks themselves. These are some of the areas of emerging technologies, but 5G enables all the remaining technologies so that it remains one of the backbone of all emerging technologies. Now coming to the impact of emerging technologies, that will be the focus. Like we have e-network platforms. One of the platform right now we are speaking is also an e-network platform. It can give a big boost to education. I mentioned, there was a mention about Pan-Africa e-network, wherein we connected about 48 countries of Africa to India for education. And 22,000 students got their degrees from India without leaving their country. So that is the potential of that e-platform. And there is also a possibility of virtual universities, collaborative research, centers of excellence, because they can be done in a collaborative way, digital content, digital libraries, and also skill development, learn as you earn, and employability enabling courses. Of course, I feel as D.K. Kothari Institute, I mean, we could focus on some of these things also. I'll maybe next time discuss in detail what all can be done in that domain. And digital health domain. Of course, apart from teleconsultation and other things, the digital health, maintaining of patient records, chronic patient management, mobile health and other things, they are all possible with the e-platforms. And another one is the rural telemedicine. This rural telemedicine, I would like to talk a little bit more in detail, because I feel strongly that there is a need for this in every part of the country, every part of the country. It is a proposal from our side, from the Telemedicine Society of India side, to many state governments, that it will be in a public-private partnership mode. The concept is like this, that you have a paramedic, means who has passed 12th class and knows English. In every village, you choose one person and train him as a paramedic in the use of instruments, provide him all the medical equipment like ECG machine, 12-channel ECG machine, glucometer, etc., and also provide him a laptop and a multimedia laptop, and also mobile phone. So what will happen, anybody falling sick will dial his toll-free number. He'll go to the sick person's home and establish a link with the call center, video conference. The doctor at the other end will see the patient, interact with him, and ask the paramedic to conduct tests if necessary and prescribe the medicines. And the medicines also can come online, like the 1 mg service and other things. So the patient does not have to leave his place. But suppose the doctor wants to consult a specialist, he can take specialist also on the line, and the two together can decide on the line of action. And if they feel that is too serious, the location, GPS location of the paramedic is known, so they can send ambulance from the nearest hospital. And from there, Ayushman Bharat will take over. So practically, the villager does not have to go from pillar to post for his treatment and sell off his land in many cases, as has been happening. Now here,
this live so that all of you, join in to one, not just celebrate, because he's based in Bhubaneswar, he's built something that we've not seen ever before, but also how can we support, how can we contribute? And because somewhere I think that a solution like this, if it was done anywhere in the world, everyone would be talking about it. He's been doing it all alone and brought it to us. How can we support? But before you believe me, just let's get him to let's just see what his device can do.
I hope it's audible.
Thank you, everyone.
Yes.
Thank you, sir, and your story. So now we are going to test the health parameters for Swadha. So can you just place your finger here?
Yeah.
No.
Yes. Sorry.
So the device started collecting the data. So test is done. For her, hemoglobin is 12.4, oxygen saturation is 98, bilirubin is 0.82, creatinine is 0.73, and random glucose is 120. So all these tests done within less than 10 seconds.
Wow.
And you are healthy, Sudha.
Thank you so
much. Now we can
much.
transfer this report to you to your WhatsApp.
So for the sake of time, I'm just clipping it, but this is what the future is going to be, and it's developed in India. We need to be proud of it. There is another domain, Ayurveda, which is our own system of medicine. And the biggest challenge nowadays is that any VAD, the number of VADs is limited. Every VAD is not able to have an experience of the Nadi Pariksha, which is a very important thing. Now, for that also, a solution has been found wherein the Nadi, whole information can be converted into Tridosha, that's Vat, Pit, and Kaph, by using Fourier transform. There is a company called Nadi Tarangani which is doing that. So with that can aid the new Ayurveda doctors who don't have so much of experience in Nadi Pariksha. So this is one thing which can help us revive back our Ayurvedic system in the country. Homeopathy is another domain where, because it's all interactive, where question answer is the main thing, and now we have softwares also which can directly give the information based on the inputs from the patient. Besides this, we have people with physical challenges also in the country, like where there are people with permanent damages, temporary damages. Now, artificial intelligence plays a big role, like in many places like this IO4S, neurology, with the help of this eye, people can move their chairs and everything. I mean, they can run a normal life using this IO4S. Similarly, for people suffering from quadriplegia, brain-controlled wheelchair, where people are paralyzed and can't do much. And there is a solution for the people with visual challenges, for example, and it's called Seeing AI from Microsoft. Because the main problem people with visual challenge face is recognizing individuals and then trying to understand the emotions of people who they are faced with or describing the scene. Here I'm briefly playing a small clip.
I'm Saqib Sheikh. I lost my sight when I was 7, and shortly after that I went to a school for the blind, and that's where I was introduced to talking computers, and that really opened up a whole new world of opportunities. I joined Microsoft 10 years ago as a software engineer. I love making things which improve people's lives. And one of the things I've always dreamt of since I was at university was this idea of something that could tell you at any moment what's going on around you.
I think it's a man jumping in the air doing a trick on a skateboard.
I teamed up with like-minded engineers to make an app which lets you know who and what is around you. It's based on top of the Microsoft Intelligence APIs, which makes it so much easier to make this kind of thing. The app runs on smartphones, but also on the Pivot Head smart glasses. When you're talking to a bigger group, sometimes you can talk and there's no response and you think, is everyone listening really well? Or are they half asleep? And you never know.
I see two faces, 40-year-old man with a beard looking surprised, 20-year-old woman looking happy.
The app can describe the general age and gender of the people around me and what their emotions are, which is incredible. One of the things that's most useful about the app is the ability to read out text.
Hello, good afternoon. Here's your menu.
Great, thank you. I can use the app on my phone to take a picture of the menu, and it's going to guide me on how to take that correct photo.
Move camera to the bottom right and away from the document.
And then it'll recognize the text. Read me the headings.
I see appetizers, salads, paninis, pizzas, pastas.
Years ago, this was science fiction. I never thought it would be something that you could actually do, but artificial intelligence.
So this is what artificial intelligence is capable of doing. And even during this pandemic in Israel, for example, for early detection, they took voice samples and utilized this to let people check it from their homes. And this is still under from Israel Defense. They're still working on this. Similarly, there is something which is very important. We at TCIL funded IIT Delhi for creating a fundus camera for the rural areas. And of course, at that point, it didn't serve much purpose because at the other end, the doctor was not always a skilled doctor to read the eye. Now, with artificial intelligence, the doctor can get the results directly, and as many as 16 diseases, including cancer, can be detected with the help of this diabetic retinopathy. Of course, in the telecom sector, we have seen last year when, because of the pandemic, there were a lot of challenges because the areas which were the office areas, they were deserted, and the residential areas, the traffic increased. Again, artificial intelligence came to the rescue at that particular point of time. E-commerce, targeted, sort of commercial activity, wherein the results are better. So that also happens, and that's where artificial intelligence plays a big role. Traffic management, it's going to play a big role in automating signals, wherein based on the traffic rather than a fixed timing, which is a challenge at times during peak hours. Robotics can take care of, which is a subset of artificial intelligence, can take care of people who need help, the aged people and the sick people. I'm not discussing some of the challenges because I understand there's a limitation of time, but I would like to mention this part of artificial intelligence which people have developed in India, in one of the engineering colleges. It is, imagine a deaf and dumb person talking to a blind man. It's one of the biggest challenges of the world, because the deaf and dumb person cannot sort of understand his language, and he can't understand his language, and there, there'll be a big problem in the sense blind men cannot see deaf and dumb's signals. So that is how the challenge is. So they have developed using artificial intelligence, and it's called the Sharanjan Bridge. And I'm really proud of such people in the country who are taking these challenges. Blockchain, it's another technology which is supported by 5G because of the distributed architecture in the domain of education to prevent fake certificates, because it's very difficult to manipulate things in a blockchain. And similarly, research authentication, disaster management for data protection and coordination among various agencies, smart agriculture. It's blockchain plays a big role there as well. Corruption control through smart contracts, digital currencies, record keeping, and besides that, asset management, smart city governance. Dubai has made it compulsory now. Blockchain is being used in Dubai smart city in a big way. Of course, money laundering prevention, that also is possible using blockchain. Then health data protection. It's possible to prevent data leak of health data of people, which is very a big concern. Similarly, clinical trials are possible using blockchains. They can be streamlined. Then supply chain management during drug traceability, it's possible to do that. Analysis of a pre-medical procedure and patient data storage, these are all possible with the blockchain. Similarly, for data, big data and analytics in healthcare, it's possible to manage the pandemics. And we have seen that there are many apps we have been using the world over for the pandemic. Banking and securities, to ensure that frauds are prevented based on a telltale. Similarly, in governance applications, enhance citizen engagement to know what people really want. And open governance platform, which started from United States, and India also has started adopting that. Planning of resources, it's possible using big data analytics in a big way so that we don't waste our resources. So security, crime and criminal tracking system has already been installed in many cities in the country. So they analyze proactively crime rather than react to a particular situation. Disaster management in predicting events and mitigating the process. Agriculture, it's possible to do precision agriculture, and also a farmer's information management system. This was installed by TCIL more than 15 years back, and this has been a big success. Similarly, this aids farmers in a number of ways. Then maybe during question answers, we can talk more about that. So mobility, say transport, basically, traffic control, route planning, and revenue management, it's possible to do with the help of the big data analytics. Now, in the case of extended reality, it can be used in healthcare, education. When I mean extended reality, it is the AR, VR. We are using those concepts of hologram and other things. This is related to that. In the health sector, the education, engineering, military, industry and manufacturing, in entertainment and emergency response also. Similarly, Internet of Things. In the health sector, we have ingestible sensors. Those people who suffer from diabetes are asked to do an injection every time. That injection, daily injection, also has an impact on the health. It has serious implications. But if it's a small ingested sensor in the body and the insulin is administered automatically based on the need, then the disasters can be prevented in this case. Similarly, for agriculture, we use Internet of Things in a big way. Environment, uh, you know, prevention of hazardous material, cleaning of water bodies, those sensors can play a big role. And even for air quality management in the cars, it's possible to use Internet of Things. I'll come to some of these things maybe later again during the concluding part of it. And in even disaster preparedness, Internet of Things plays a big role. Similarly, infrastructure monitoring. I had heard about almost 20 years back when Australia had this big bridge over, seawater. So, because it gets corroded, so, to balance the anions and cations and release of that automatically, they had designed a system for that years back. Now it is, of course, called Internet of Things. Financial inclusion. There are, Government of India started 150,000, rural, they are called postal ICT handheld terminals, where the postman can do transactions on behalf of the customers in the rural areas when it comes to money transfer or handing over money, or even for, there has been an experience that when there is a registered letter for a village, the postman, they say that he was not available, and finally messages sent to the person that you collected personally. And in case of a non-registered letter, it is just thrown away. The postmen have been doing that, but now with the help of the ICT handheld terminal, they are forced to show that the place was actually closed, and they can't escape that. Now, in the energy sector, the smart energy sector plays a big role. Smart metering, it prevents pilferages. I mentioned about Kashmir in the beginning, that people used to say it's heaven. I used to wonder why. And in the energy sector, there used to be a pilferage of 75% over there. So much of theft, I think, leading in the country. Besides this, there are solutions which are possible by virtue of smart metering, where people cannot manipulate the meters. They are remotely read, and peak pricing is possible. Smart grids, all these things can happen leveraging technology. Now, revenue collection also, now we see that RF tags, you don't have to wait at all these places where our tolls are there because of the high security registration plates, and people also can be caught, and manipulation is a difficult thing. Internet of Medical Things. Sorry, there was a little glitch. The Internet of Medical Things also, which have happened recently, wherein proactively, if somebody is having some challenge, elderly people, that can be taken care of in advance, and his people also can be intimated that his gait is not fine or something, you please take care of him. There are smart wearable devices where for pain relief, for example. Similarly, there are smart belts for hip protection in the elderly, because elderly people, they have a tendency of maybe having falls or something and breaking their hip bones. So this belt proactively sees that there is a tendency getting developed when the person is moving. And in case of emergency, it opens an airbag so that even if there's a fall, there's a prevention of the hip bone from getting damaged. And all his relatives are also informed. 3D printing in a big way, in understanding the concept of design in education, in housing, for example, 3D printed houses, they can be ready in 24 hours and they cost less than an iPhone nowadays. It's very interesting that happens. iPhone costs $1.5 lakh. You can have a small home ready within 24 hours with that money. And prototype development, it's possible to optimize on the jet engines, leveraging 3D printing technologies. Bahrain, for example, is preventing damage to its environment and restoration of damaged reefs with the help of 3D printing. Of course, drone manufacturing is getting enabled with 3D printing, specialized drones also. And in the healthcare sector, there is also possibility of prosthetics for cancer-affected patients, dentistry, porous bone structures, bioprinting, etc. And drones in agriculture, they are also being used, and UP government is working on this right now. Disaster management, drones play a big role, geostation survey. And the reason I'm talking about drones right now, they also need communication for control and the quick response time, shipping and delivery, security, and of course, in the healthcare domain also, for blood samples from remote areas or blood for transfusion, it can be done in remote areas, first aid kits, defibs, where the person needs a defib, that also can be done, and COVID essential supplies to patients. And this trial was done last year, and even transporting patients in the case of emergency can be done with the help of drones. Now, coming to quantum computing, this is speeding up the machine learning process in a big way. And also antidotes for diseases like Alzheimer's and cancers, drug development. This is happening. Maybe even the drugs for COVID-19 and similar type of pandemics in future can be done with the help of quantum computing. This clinical trials, because the challenge with clinical trials is it takes long time and a lot of people. But if it's done with the help of quantum computing, it'll take much lesser time. Similarly, for speeding DNA sequencing, protection of patient healthcare data. Of course, cybersecurity is a double-edged sword. It's going to be under attack because of quantum computing also. And so a solution has to come from there. Weather forecasting, it'll happen with the quantum computing. Climate change, it gives us a clear indication of cost-effective catalysts for climate change. In the energy sector, for optimizing the grid and assets management, it plays a big role. Now, digital twin, it's a marriage of physical and virtual world, as we know. And there are digital twins in surgery, risk assessment simulation, patient monitoring, development in drug modeling, personalized healthcare, transforming population health, town planning also, and also in agriculture. Digital twin plays a role in having the right quantity of fertilizer and insecticides, etc. Now, we'll, I don't know, Surendraji, do we have the time? Or,
Yeah, I think you can take 10 minutes more.
10 minutes more. Okay, I'll do that. So now I quickly go through sector-wise. We have discussed what the solutions are due to emerging technologies. Now coming to air quality management. we have seen that monitoring of air quality at different locations is possible. There is a possibility of IoT-based monitoring of exhaust also. If we put a small chip, the exhaust, if the carbon monoxide level or nitrous oxide levels cross a particular limit, automatically a message goes to a central server and the person will get a warning that your exhaust is crossing the limit, and you'll your license will be revoked. And similarly for polluting industries, we can find a solution wherein they'll be prevented from crossing a particular limit. And for air quality management, we need to go for solar, and for so far as vehicles is concerned, it has to be EVs of the future. For water management, recycling of water, that instead of wasting water, we waste a lot of water. When we wash hands also in Japan, they use that water for flushing. Similarly, drip irrigation, IoT based, because a major part of our water goes in agriculture. So if we have a proper drip irrigation controlled by IoT, we can save a lot of water and have better crops. Monitoring of water bodies is an important thing, which can be enabled with this rainwater harvesting, and also sewage treatment with the various solutions we have. So water also it enables. Then garbage segregation is the starting point. There is no doubt about it. But where the information technology comes into play is decentralized solid waste management, or also in case of effluent treatment plants, these are some of the ways it can help. Then coming to food and agriculture, we have already discussed that there has to be there have to be clusters, and precision agriculture is one of the contributors in a big way. And energy management, smart grid, smart metering, and small, smart, you can say, heating, ventilation, and cold control system we can have, leveraging technology. Smart lighting, so that we don't waste light unnecessary. Light gets switched on when there is somebody there. Net metering, this is the best way to ensure optimal utilization of the power in the country. And peak power pricing, instead of having generators, people can pay more and they'll continue to have power instead of running generators. This will help prevent pollution also. 3D printed houses for smart housing, net zero buildings, where the energy consumption is zero, water consumption is zero, and waste production is zero. Some of these, TCL has implemented one such building for REC, and similarly in Gurgaon. Similarly for inclusive habitat, UN Habitat 2030 has said that every multi-storied building of a society should have place for domestic help, so that they don't have to live in slums. So this is another concept of smart housing. Similarly, Bhutan, you must have seen sky lighting. They make optimal utilization of. These are some other ways, like Vastu Shastra also, I feel, is in a big way which can result in smart housing, apart from what the technologies do. Smart mobility is when we use public transport, and of course, less polluting transport, and autonomous vehicles are going to transform in a big way. We can avoid this chaos we see on the roads today. Financial inclusion, already government has taken a lot of steps like Jan Dhan Yojana, Mudra Card, direct benefit transfers, postal ICT terminals, as I was mentioning, and Paytm Magic. All of us are aware. Even a small kiosk holder has got Paytm now. Cashless transactions are happening in a big way. Safety and security, infrastructure monitoring, I have mentioned about the previous experience, and drones for surveillance and sorry. So all these services like crime and criminal tracking systems, dial 100 services, and these all services are already there in the country in some of the locations, and they can be scaled up for the rest. Smart education, use of extended reality. We can have these virtual classrooms on the lines of Pan Africa. It's already started. Even schools have now started online classes. Even my grandchild, he has not seen a regular school right from beginning. Because of the pandemic, he has straight away gone to a virtual class. Now for him, a class means simply a laptop. So in 3D printing, blockchain, all these things help in education service. So the old system of only relying on textbooks is gone. We have to ensure that we update our things. And for us particularly, these things become more important because we have a shortage of resources, personnel like doctors. So we have to use one doctor for many villages. We have to train them. They need to understand anatomy. And for engineers, for understanding the machines, it's not so easy at times. Like I found it a big challenge understanding a klystron of a magnetron. It was later when I was working at the satellite station that I could understand it. But the students can understand the internal working because they can see with the help of extended reality. And even the ecology can be understood nowadays. So I have discussed all these. I'll not talk much about it. These are all benefits which we get by virtue of these technologies in the health domain. And since I'm more biased towards health, I'm sorry for that. You know, yeah, I would like to talk about this smart economy because Rajasthan also is a tourist location, and tourism, a big role will be played by 5G technologies. I had a good experience some 1.5 years back in Valencia, where I could see the impact of a phone, how it could seamlessly take me wherever I wanted to without asking people. So coming to smart economy, MSME, there are about 65 million MSMEs in the country, and these technologies can play a big role. We can have an ERP as a service, software as a service, project management for them that will ensure a cost-effective and trained MSME sector, which can result in a lot of employment generation also, which we aspire to do. Similarly, if you use cloud infrastructure, secure platform for transactions, and for marketing also, it helps them prototype development using these technologies as we have discussed previously. So this will be a big boon for the country. So before I conclude, I just wanted to mention about Dr. Kalam. He had come up with this concept of Pura, providing urban amenities in rural areas, because he felt that if we provide the urban amenities like proper education, digital libraries, digital health, e-banking, etc., in the rural areas, which is possible leveraging all these technologies. So the villagers need not come to the towns. They'll not overcrowd them. and they'll have good quality of life in villages. I still hold this vision. It is possible to do. Conclusions. So developing countries face a lot of challenges because of various reasons. Emerging technologies are also impacting our lives in a big way, and it's possible to solve the problems using emerging technologies. And emerging technologies need an enabling framework, and 5G networks provide these enabling networks. Well, this is my guru. I consider him my guru. A lot of inspirations I draw from him. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Sri Vimalji. It's a wonderful, absolutely excellent presentation.
Thank you, sir.
Really very exciting and full of knowledge and information, new ideas and so on. I again request Sri Nareshji to take over and manage rest of this event.
Okay, so this is 5G technology is a very, very potent one. We can see that all aspects of whatever future is, he has shown this. So now we would like to see the response of the audience. Anybody is interested in some, how to go ahead. So please go ahead and unmute yourself and ask the questions to Vimal Wakhlu.
Hi, Vimal.
Hello.
Am I audible? I'm MK Jain here.
Yeah. Actually, yeah. Please tell me.
I think I've got not couple of questions.
Yeah,
See,
please.
this is a very good exposure to the 5G technology, which is going to help us in the development. But why there's a opposition from the various sectors for all of the 5G technology? I just don't understand. Even there was a petition in the Supreme Court. One film, I think from film side, they went there and finally it was rejected. So why there's opposition against the roll out of 5G technology? It's a health hazard, something. What is this?
Yeah. The thing is, there are two things. You mentioned about, one reason for opposition is the service providers themselves, indirectly through their friends in the media and other places, because they have not fully taken out the juice out of 4G networks. They don't want to invest into 5G networks because 4G networks were introduced only about maybe 6 years back, and they have not been able to get the full juice out of it. And through other people, they keep on saying this. Now, coming to the second part, the film industry you mentioned, some people some people have been petitioning the court. It's like this, that based on the information, you are in the same domain. We all know that RF radiations are dangerous. Now, RF radiations have two components. One is, of course, the one which are used in X-rays and all that. They are very dangerous. But even the one we use in telecom, which we call non-ionizing, of course, the X-ray being ionizing, the non-ionizing also, if it is in excess, it does have an impact. And I can personally vouch for it. But at the same time, we cannot say 5G has a problem. It is a general problem with RF. So we need to have low power devices so that we don't have high power stations like we are aware in 2G. We used to use 1.5 kilowatts of power, which is very dangerous. Anybody who's very close to that, like it happened in Mumbai, there was a big hue and cry because these service providers put base stations anywhere on the top of the buildings. Now, keeping in on the top of a building which is isolated doesn't matter. But if there is another building which is adjacent to it, so that building will get the top floor, direct radiation. And there have been reports of cancer. So it is not a problem of 5G, it is a problem of RF. Now, to say RF, I don't agree with that. It is a general problem. So we need to have a proper engineering done so that we don't put base stations in random places, all these towers everywhere. It's a wrong policy, which the regulator has not been able to control them. The way regulator has not been able to control the cable industry, TV cable industry. That's my take on it.
But if there's a opposition from the operators, then who is going to roll out the 5G unless the
No,
operators
opposition,
are
it was this opposition from the operators was initially because they felt that let us try to delay. They have been able to delay also because 5G services started in some places earlier, 2 years, 3 years. I mentioned of Valencia, it started almost 3 years back. But here it got delayed a bit, and here also it will start only by the year end. So that means they have managed to delay it quite a bit. And in the meantime, we have been able to leverage on their existing resources. That is how it is.
But the 5G and 4G, they can co-live together. No, it's not
Yeah,
that one the
ultimately,
5G.
that's true. But if people switch over to 5G, like people switched over from 2G to 4G,
Yes.
then the load on 2G is less. Then it does not remain commercially viable. Then you have to shut it down. Then the full juice of the capex that you have invested will not be there. I mean, I'm right now talking from the point of view of the operators. But if we see on the whole, this is a change in technology. You can't help. We have to factor in all this. And of course, the complaint is that we are forced to keep low tariffs because of competition. Because a lot of companies have shut down also. And even the third company, I mean, there would have been a duopoly had government not intervened a few months back, and that saved Vodafone Idea. That's how it is.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. We'll get in touch eventually. Yeah.
Shri Tiwari. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Vimal, thank you very much for the nice information.
Thank you, sir.
Only I have got the answer from this reply. My question was the almost same what previous Mr. has asked for that. What are the main hurdles? What do you feel? And don't you think that the 2G, 3G, 4G, the installed machineries or can be converted into 5G? So earlier you told that engineering needs to work over that. So whatever they have invested on the 2G, 3G, 4G, whatever, that can be converted to 5G, 6G, not only the 5G, the next generation also.
Yeah, I agree with you. Basically, after some time, even 2G will not remain commercially viable because so much of energy consumption. You have such big tower infrastructure, people monitoring them. And you must have read in the newspapers also that the street furniture is going to be used for the 5G networks also. Street furniture means all these tube light on the streets, those masks will be used. And for that, again, they'll run on the solar energy and small batteries so that there is no need for generators or monitoring those places the way you have for that. So automatically 2G stations will become commercially unviable and they'll have to be shut down. It will not remain commercially viable. That's what I feel.
Thank you.
Wakhlu sir, thank you so much for the very informative session as expected. I attended this session second time today. The question is, how do we balance between CapEx, OpEx, ROI, and HSE risk and the national benefit? How do we balance all the 5-6 things?
Between OpEx, CapEx, and
ROI. Return on investment, HSE risk, and the national benefit, or the benefits to the citizens. How do you balance all this?
Actually, I have seen over my 44 years of experience that finally it is the customer response which decides all that. That's a very important thing. If a customer laps up a service, then the OPEX gets justified, and even the CAPEX gets justified, even the OPEX is taken care of because he's ready to pay a higher sort of tariff for that. So, and ROI is based on that. But if his response is not good enough, that means any person, any businessman rolling out a service has to keep the ultimate customer choice in mind, his needs in mind, for a balance of all this. Because it's the customer response which decides everything.
So do we require a government subsidy now to make it popular now? What do we require now?
You are talking about 5G?
5G, yeah? The
No, not
application
at
of
all.
5G.
Not at all. There is no need of government subsidy.
Mhm.
There are a lot of applications of 5G, because 5G is not only making calls or browsing the internet or WhatsApp groups. It has wide applications in different domains. As I was mentioning in my presentation, health, education, everywhere. So every organization will need this. So it will not be dependent only on the common citizen. It will be dependent on the organizations who are using these services. So it will be commercially viable, definitely. So there is no need of any subsidy. But yes, there is one thing which has been a major challenge in these years, and that has been the high threshold levels, high floor price of the spectrum. That has been a major challenge, because when you fix the base price for spectrum, so people are forced to quote that and finally run into losses, and it becomes a big problem, and they can't increase the tariff because of competition. And this is a big problem. Now, all the operators have requested the government not to sort of fix that base price. And there is another thing that is happening simultaneously. The satellite-based services, a lot of LEO, low orbit satellites, are being launched in the world over. Now, what has happened because of that reason? That satellite services, broadband services, also may come directly along with 5G services. So there'll be a good competition, and that's why there are collaborations also happening, like the one we have seen between Bharati and this Hughes networks of USA, because the two are trying to leverage on each other's technology.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, I had seen Mr. Anil Jain's hand also up. I don't know whether he's still there.
Yeah. Dr. Anil
That's
Jain?
Seems to have left, I think. Yeah.
He was here, but yeah, I think he has left. All right. Actually, Vimalji, I have just one or two questions.
Please tell.
You have mentioned something about this RAN, rain. What is that rain? Technical term we have used. And this digital twins, basically what does it mean by digital twins? Is it something like prototype?
Digital twin is, you can say, an electronic simulation of a particular sort of function. Like when I mentioned about agriculture, for example, use of digital twin in agriculture, it would mean that for a particular crop, how much, what will be the exact amount of say fertilizer needed per gram, or 10 grams, or something like that. So once you simulate that this is the type of soil, these are the parameters of the soil, and the moisture level and other contents, what will be the corresponding need for water, and that can be simulated on that. Similarly, for health services, for example, that there'll be a simulation of a human body. All parameters of the human body are fed, and it's like a human virtual body now.
Oh, I see.
There, they'll try to feed that medicine and see what will be the impact of the medicine.
Oh,
So that whether we should administer that to this patient who's critical or like that. So that is a digital twin. So every domain,
right.
there is a digital twin. Even for cities, we are creating digital twins now. Coming back to this RAN. So RAN stands for Radio Access Network.
Radio Access Network.
Access Network. So like we used to have these base stations earlier, for 2G, for example. So radio access based BTS and BSS, that used to be the composition. Here we have the radio access network. So now for 5G, there is a emphasis on open RAN. So because earlier it used to be proprietary, that used to be a challenge. You cannot use the base station of one and the BSS of another company. That was a limitation.
Okay, last question from my side.
Yes.
I am looking for a implementation of these ideas and providing training to youths and students through Kothari Institute about all this new concept. So is it possible to plan something along this direction so that something like weekly we have say 2 hours or 3 hours lectures or some kind of workshop on these different topics for youth?
Yeah, separately, different topics separately.
Separately, every week or something like that. Will it be feasible? I mean, for Udaipur like condition, I mean, or something like, can we take a pilot study for this Pura, this idea of Abdul Kalam Ji, to implement it, for example, about some 136 villages are there around Udaipur.
Excellent.
So is it possible to select some 10 villages or 15 villages and do some pilot study in these 10 villages for this under this Pura project? I mean, is there any government incentive for this to carry out these things? And can
Actually,
we
sir, when Dr. Kalam was around, I'm talking about before 2015, many state governments had shown interest in this. But gradually, that interest seems to have got lost. And there have been changes of governments also since then, in the last 6-7 years. But the fact remains it is doable, it can be implemented. And since DS Kothari Institute is also doing programs, funding programs like Agastya Foundation, that initiative for schools. So they already have identified some villages. So these villages can be taken for this purpose as well, because if you have resources in those places, the job becomes easier. So that we can sit sometime and work out the details on this.
Yeah, because I am looking for training to all.
And training also is possible. We can start virtual classes for the students, and the topic wise, and involve more people. There can be 3 weeks, 4 weeks courses like that.
Right.
Yeah. Certificate courses or something like that.
Right. So thank you very much again.
My pleasure, sir.
Yeah. Is there any other question by anybody?
Dr. Bohana sir, there was a question by Dr. Anil Jain, even though he left, but his question is still there in the chat.
Sorry, I missed it. Yeah.
Is there any study on the impact of 5G on living, being, and environment? This is question from Dr. Anil Jain. He has left, but the question is there.
Just to part of the question I have already answered, that it's not only 5G, it is the radio waves, misuse of radio waves, which does have an impact. And particularly, there are a lot of studies done where there are some people who have established that particularly the pregnant women are susceptible to such challenges. I mean, if they overuse their phone, keep it too close to their body. So it can have impact on children also. These studies have been done by some people over there.
Okay, so thank you very much, Vimalji.
Thank you, sir. We'll be in
A
touch.
lot of very exciting, very informative presentations. And I think next time we will try that more people are aware of this development and they join our this monthly lecture series. We had an objective of this type only in our mind that these concepts should be imparted to our people at the earliest so that they know what are the advancements taking place in the world. I mean, so I think this objective has been very clearly fulfilled by you today, at least. I mean, I'm pretty sure about it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
And I am also very thankful to all the participants for very exciting questions. They have remained there up to 5:36.